Well, hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Auto Repair Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Brian Walker, and today my co-host, as usual, is Kim. And we are going to be talking about our favorite podcast episodes from last year. And this should be coming out. This will be the very first episode of 2024. So we're going to be talking about each of our 5 favorites from 2023. But before we get too far into that, thank you, RepairPal, for sponsoring this episode. RepairPal will introduce your shop to new customers through RepairPal.com, the largest site for auto repair. Learn more at RepairPal.com/shops. Well, Kim.
Hello.
It's a new year. It will be
Well,
when this comes out anyway.
but you know what I just realized? The lights on the bottom of that road thing you have there are Christmas lights.
They are Christmas lights.
They're green and red.
Mm-hmm. And it's, as we record this, it's not quite Christmas yet.
Which is why I was silent when he said it's a new year. He threw me off because I don't know what he's going to say. Technically, today is December 19th, but we're planning ahead by looking back. Wait, is that right?
Well, we always have to record a little bit early, and this is a little bit later than I'd like it to be. Actually, we need to get a little more ahead. I'm sure Carmen and Tracy would appreciate that as well.
Hey, y'all, I have it on our calendar every Thursday afternoon.
But she never shows up. I'm out here waiting,
Bless her.
trying to record something, and Kim's not here. Anyway,
Well,
Happy New Year. As you're listening to this, it should be, I think it's January 4th.
Is this the first one? The first Wednesday?
Yeah.
Okay, wow. All right. Yeah, Happy New Year, everybody.
All right. Well, let's just get on into this one and talk about each of our top 5 episodes from 2023. And I'll let you start.
So total, it's top 10. Oh,
Yes.
Ladies are going first?
Ladies first.
Oh, that's so nice. Okay, so I'm going all the way back to episode 37. I don't have the date, but episode 37, which was escaping a war-torn country to becoming a shop owner in Arizona. And that was our good friend, Mac. But where were we? Were we at ASTE?
At the summit.
The summit. We were at the summit in Florida. Wow, that was back like January, February. And, you know, people have stories, but you don't really know the nitty-gritty of it until you sit down and you take some time. And that one left me in awe, I think.
Yeah. I knew that you were going to pick that one.
Yeah.
I had absolutely zero doubt that you would. But I remember sitting there with Mac and listening to his story, and I was just like, I feel like I remember myself just being silent listening because it was captivating to hear about this guy who escaped. He and his family escaped from Iraq, during the war. And now he's an auto repair shop owner here in, he's in Chandler, Arizona, so a suburb of Phoenix.
Well, it stuck with me for a couple of reasons. One, I'm from a military family, so my brother was fighting that war, number one. Number two, our son's in the military, so I'm always connected to that stuff. But more than anything else, really, it was that in between him and his family leaving Iraq and getting to the United States was the waiting in Syria.
Yeah.
That was the part for me. So I really recommend that y'all go take a look at that. Go take a listen and connect.
It is on YouTube. You can watch.
Connect with him. I think his name on Facebook is Macram Rima because I think his wife shares an account with him. But wow, that was really powerful.
That was episode number 37.
Yeah.
Any of these episodes that we're telling you about, actually any episode, if you go to shopmarketingpros.com / and then the episode number. So in this case, shopmarketingpros.com /37. This was episode number 37. And that'll take you right to it to be able to listen to it. And it's one of those things where, you know what? I mean, when you look at our country right now, it's easy to look at it and think, man, things are just going so wrong.
It's a hot mess.
And I'm not going to get into that too much because of, but when you hear stories like this, we still live in the greatest country in the world.
And when you get out and you travel, both within our own country, but also outside of our country, I think you realize it is still the best country in the world.
Yeah.
And I would say to any shop owner listening, the first Wednesday-ish of January, and you're struggling, go listen to his story. You know, oftentimes when we think we're struggling, we hear about someone else's story and we realize, you know what, I'm not as bad off as I think I am. There's some hope is what I'm saying in that story, and I just love it.
Yeah. All right. So my first pick is going back to episode 29, Creating Your Own Economy. And this was a solo cast. It was just me. Golly, what does that say about me that one of my favorites was just me by myself?
And it's funny because almost all of my favorites are with other people.
But I think that it's my favorite because this is something that I'm passionate about. People get too wrapped up in external influences creating their future. And, I believe that we create our own future. And I mean, obviously there's outside influences that can definitely affect, what that looks like. But, if you just pay attention to what you are doing and forget about what the news is saying and, what everybody is complaining about in the world, and you just kind of keep your focus on you and what you can do, then you can have things go really well for you while, the other people who are listening to the news, their world is falling down on them.
Yeah.
So
yep, that's really good stuff.
Yeah, that one was that. So that was my first pick.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Number 2 for me is episode 42, which is Radical Generosity, the Power of Gifting. And this one is just me, by the way.
Yeah, but you love gifting.
Me. I love gifting. What I don't like, and this is to my sister and my niece, I don't like wrapping presents. They keep sending me the gifts, I gotta wrap them. But anyway, I did find joy in doing that this weekend. Anyway, radical generosity. By the way, if y'all know my sister, my niece, don't share this with them because I did just call them out. But I sent them gifts too, and they had to wrap it also. Anyways, all right, radical generosity. So I think I've always been a gifter. I've always loved thinking about the perfect gift. But in this episode, I really give you the how-to on how to come up with a great gift and how to find the moment and just what it's done for us as far as gifting our employees, our clients, our friends in the industry, but really just bringing that generosity into your company. And I think we look at our core values, well, every day where somebody's talking about our core values, but we assess quarterly, whether they're still accurate and right. And there was one time we had that meeting, and I think it was JR that brought up, this is such a big part of who we are that I think we need to make sure that generosity is in our core values. And so we even evaluated, does it fit our current core values, or do we now have to add a new core value? But we did find that it works within who we already are. So I talked to shop owners about how to incorporate radical generosity into your shop.
All right. So that was episode number 42. So shopmarketingpros.com/42 if you want to listen to that one. My number 2 was Phone Skills Amplify Your Marketing with Cecil Bullard. That was episode number 45. And we were traveling. This was when we did our California trip early this year. And we stopped in at the Institute's headquarters in Ogden, Utah. And we sat down with Cecil and we talked about how important your phone skills are when it comes to your marketing. Because, oh my gosh, you can have the best marketing in the world, but if the person who's answering your phone does not have good phone skills, then you're wasting your marketing dollars. And that's what we talk about. And Cecil gives a lot of actionable advice there. And I find that most shop owners tend to think that their service advisors are pretty good when in fact they may not be.
Yeah.
Or they may
probably
be
are
good
not.
when you're standing right next to them, but they're not when you're not standing next to them.
That's one of the episodes I think I've bookmarked and has become a resource, and I send to people all
Yeah.
the time.
Yeah, and our customer success managers do as well,
Mm-hmm.
because when we're running Google ads for our clients, we're listening to those phone calls,
Mm-hmm.
and we know whether they're good on the phone or not.
Yeah.
And there have been times where we've sent a recording of a phone call to a shop owner and been like, "You might want to listen to this,"
Mm-hmm.
and they're always shocked. There's never "Oh, I know we need to get better at that."
Right.
So, yeah, that was episode number 45, shopmarketingpros.com/45. That one is definitely worth a listen.
And truth be told, if Brian had not selected that one, it would have been in one of my top 5 as well.
Yeah.
All right. My third favorite was episode 48, and that's getting shop owners off the island. I think that was both of us. I believe we did that one together, if I remember correctly. But I love this one so much because I relate to it so much with our own story. And it took me back to that feeling that we reference all the time. And I hear that from other shop owners all the time. Those exact words, I feel like I'm on an island, or I felt like I was on an island. And we definitely felt that. So for me, and given that I know my purpose in life is to teach, connect, and serve, this one for me is where I feel like we're able to connect shops to the industry. And that's what this one is all about. It's all about finding resources, getting connected, developing those relationships within the industry so that you are getting off the island and you're getting back onto the mainland where everybody else is, and learning from other shops, learning from coaches, learning from people in the industry. This industry is incredible, and there's so many people in here that care about helping one another. And so for me, that's why I loved this particular episode so much.
All right. My number 3 was episode number 55, which is How EOS Drives Smart Marketing with Tim Stoll. And Tim is our EOS implementer. Basically, he's our EOS coach. For those of you who don't know the terminology, and EOS, by the way, is Entrepreneurial Operating System, which is a system by which you run a business. And there are a lot of shops out there that are using EOS. If you go to remarkableresults.biz, go to the search bar, type in EOS, there are a lot of episodes about EOS. However, there were none talking about EOS specific to marketing. And when we were going to do this one, I was like, yeah, there's these 4 or 5 things that we need to hit on. But when we sat down with Tim and we started talking about marketing and EOS, even though we go through this, we were just in our 2-day annual EOS meeting last week. As we record this last week, we were in that meeting and we talked about all the marketing stuff, but I didn't even realize just how much we talk about marketing until we did that episode with Tim. And Tim was such a great podcast guest. He is a wealth of knowledge. He's a very well collected person. Like,
Yep.
it's something where when you go listen to that episode, you are going to learn some things.
Yep. He's very articulate, very thoughtful, very well spoken.
Yeah. So if you are interested in EOS, even if you don't know what EOS is, gosh, go give that episode a listen, because EOS has been one of the most impactful things that we've ever done in our business. But the marketing side of it is huge. And if you're listening to this podcast, it's probably because you're interested in marketing.
Well, and speaking of EOS, there's another episode that I don't think it was 2023. I think it was 2022, but worth noting in the show notes is the episode that the title is something like, if I were to open a shop today, this is the one thing I'd implement.
Yeah.
Something like that. All right. So moving right along, for me, my next top favorite, so my number 4 is episode 72. And that was with Kendall Warnock of A1 Automotive. And the title was Life After the Reservation. And funny story is, I've never met Kendall. You've never met Kendall.
No.
But somehow I found out about A1 Automotive on Instagram because, I guess they know, obviously, that I'm interested in that. And it was suggested. And so I started following it and I started engaging with that social media, the Instagram profile, and started messaging them, hey, I love what you're doing and that sort of thing. And then at Vision 2022, because we weren't at Vision this year.
Mm-hmm.
So it was at Vision 2022, I saw a bunch of, I guess, technicians with the A1 Automotive shirt or jacket or something. And I ended up at this event and I saw him and I approached to talk to him and say, hey, I follow y'all and whatever. And they were like, oh, that's the owner, Kendall. There he goes down the escalator. And so I turned and looked and he was going down the escalator. So we've still to this day not met, but we've become friends and we have a lot in common. And he is a phenomenal leader and so driven and family guy and committed to his community and his team. And it's just a phenomenal story. But he grew up on an Indian reservation in Nebraska, and this is his story. And that, we all have like this one moment in time where we're like, that's it, I'm done. And I am going to fix my life. I'm going to change it. And for him, he was holding, you got to go listen, but he was sitting outside of like a mini mart, like a miniature grocery store, convenience store.
Don't tell too much.
Holding a food stamp card. And he said, no, not the card. That's too modern. Like the food stamp ripoff, like money. And he sat in his car and he said, I will never use this again. And so you have to go listen to this story. It's like Mac from episode 37. It's just a very powerful story.
All right. Well, my number 4 is episode 62. So shopmarketingpros.com/62. And it's the importance of managing your money. And this is another one where I did, it was a solo cast. It was just me. And I did this right after, we were coming off the heels of a pastor in our church who made some poor decisions. We'll just leave it at that. And there were things that should have been in place at our church that would have kept that from happening. And they were not. We have an amazing church, and like our church is the big church in our community. Mm-hmm. And they were too trusting. And you just got to go listen to the story. I actually don't get too much into the weeds on that, but I do talk about how important it is to manage your money. And since that episode, you hear me in there talking about some of the changes that I've made personally, because I did, Kim and I now sit on the board for the church because we want to make sure that nothing like that ever happens again. Mm-hmm. But I can't sit on the board of a church where we're going in and saying, we're never going to let this happen again if I have a weakness in my own finances. Mm-hmm. And we have put things into place and really gotten so much of a better look at our own personal finances. Our business has been so solid, for a while now since doing EOS. But on the personal side, we were kind of a little messy in the finances, and now, our personal is so much better. But that's another one of those things that I'm passionate about. I would love for you to go listen to that episode. If you were that person where your personal finances are like perfect, you run your household like a business, you probably don't need to listen to it. You might listen to it, geek out a little bit.
That's probably very few
enjoy
people,
knowing that you're not the only person that does that. But if you're the person where your personal finances are a little bit messy,
need to tighten some things up.
And I don't mean messy from a standpoint of like the way that you're spending money. I'm talking about messy from a standpoint of you don't actually reconcile your bank accounts and stuff like that. Yep. Or you don't have any way of tracking you're not tracking anything at all. So
just super relaxed.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was episode number 62. All right.
Okay.
What's your last one, Kim?
So my last one, again, no surprise here, it's with other people. And it's episode 79. It's Hope After Bankruptcy. And that is with Rick White and Cecil Bullard, two coaches in the industry. So where this came from, I was talking to a shop owner, and this particular shop owner was sharing with me that they were in bankruptcy and that no one knew. And the spouse definitely didn't want anyone to know, was carrying a lot of shame with it. And I said, oh my gosh, that's just so not necessary. And I told our story to this person, to this shop owner. And in that moment, it hit me. And I actually went to Remarkable Results to do a search for bankruptcy to see, we don't need to recreate the wheel. Why would I record another episode if we've got plenty out there already? And I couldn't find much, if anything, actually. Mm-hmm. And so I reached out to some friends in the industry, coaches, and I was like, do you have any clients? I wasn't even thinking about them in the moment, but I said, do you have any clients who are on the other side of bankruptcy and could do a podcast with me telling the story and encouraging other shop owners who are either in bankruptcy or making the decision, they're thinking about it, but they're fearful or they're stressed or whatever. Let's remove some of that shame. And both Rick and Cecil replied and said, it's me. I've got that story. And so Brian and I got on with Rick and Cecil, and we had a very encouraging, very open and transparent conversation about how we ended up in bankruptcy, how we got out of it, and how we're doing afterwards.
And that is a very recent episode. Matter of fact, as we record this, it will come out tomorrow.
Yeah. So today's December 19th. It comes out tomorrow. But just recording it and looking back, that's one of my absolute favorites. And these guys are just so raw and so real. And there were so many nuggets of wisdom that came. I'm telling you, so many one-liners. I started trying to write it down to tell our videographer, hey, pull this, but there were so many takeaways and one-liners in there that's just incredible. So that's going to round out my top 5.
All right. Well, my number 5, so the last one of this list is episode 71. And that is preparing for the day you hope never comes. And that's with Maylan Newton. And I think that this may be the most powerful, the most valuable episode that we've ever recorded. And it might go down as the most valuable one that we ever do record. And the reason why is because it's about a topic that nobody likes to talk about, but it's so darn important that you take care of these things. And Maylan Newton, for those of you who don't know him, he is a coach in the industry, and he was in a motorcycle accident. He actually had a stroke while he was riding his motorcycle, and it took him out of his business for about a 9-month period. And he since then, he has become very passionate about making sure that the shop owners that he works with and the people that he has the opportunity to speak in front of know how important it is to have all of your things in order, so that if for some reason you don't get to show up to work tomorrow, the people who work for you, your family, all of these people, they know what to do. Like they have access to being able to keep that business running and it not being such a crazy hardship on them. And this is something that before that, I heard Maylan tell the story before I did the podcast episode with him. And that was 2 years ago at Apex that we met with him, had dinner, and he told us the story. And I started very slowly doing some things to make sure that we're good. Like if something were to happen to me, that you and JR would know what to do.
Yep.
If something were to happen to me and you, that JR would know what to do. And now, if something were to happen to me you and JR, the business has a continuity plan for that as well. The entire leadership team gets hit by a bus. There is a plan in place to make sure that our employees still have jobs, our clients are still served, and that this business that we've built doesn't become valueless overnight. And that is what we talk about. And but when Maylan tells the story, he gets into so much more than just the tactical side of this. It's so important that everyone hear his story and take the time to put these things into place. When I finally got serious about it, it didn't take long. It was not this huge, like this daunting task to get it done. So that is our top 10. 5 from Kim, 5 from me. I'm going to run through the list one more time real quick and give you those episode numbers. So my top 5 were episode 29, Creating Your Own Economy. Episode 45, Phone Skills Amplify Your Marketing with Cecil Bullard. Episode 55, How EOS Drives Smart Marketing with Tim Stoll. Episode 62, The Importance of Managing Your Money. Episode 71, Preparing for the Day You Hope Never Comes with Maylan Newton. Why don't you run through your top 5?
I closed my document.
I'll do it for you then. Kim's top 5 were episode 37, Escaping a War-Torn Country to Becoming a Shop Owner in Arizona with Mac Akram. Episode 42, Radical Generosity, The Power of Gifting. Episode 48, Getting Shop Owners Off the Island. Episode 72, Life After the Reservation with Kendall Warnock. And episode 79, Hope After Bankruptcy with Rick White and Cecil Bullard. You know what's interesting about this list?
What, that this is just like our laundry and stuff? Like I always put stuff away. Well, not laundry. That's a terrible example.
No, I don't know where you're even going with that.
Well, I already closed my document.
Oh, well, no, to me, what is interesting about this list is there's only 3 things on here about marketing.
Well, it's funny. Carm pushed us to get outside of marketing or be willing to get outside of marketing and, just tell some stories.
Yeah.
And
I hope that's okay with y'all, the listener, because, this is a marketing podcast, but we do a lot of episodes that are not about marketing, and those tend to be our favorite ones.
The funny thing about that is that from our stats, which I'm looking at right now, some of the top ones listened to or downloaded are not, what do you really want with Coach Nate Bailey? This is just from the last 90 days.
Yeah.
Designing Your Life, Preparing for the Day You Hope Never Comes, Life After the Reservation.
Yep. There's some really good
Accelerating Ambition. So that's 10. That's the top 10 most listened in the last 90 days. And of the top 10, easily over half of them are not marketing related.
Yeah.
So it's good to have a little mix in there.
All right. Well, look, y'all.
Y'all.
I'm a little bit late to the party with this, but Happy New Year. Hope that you have an amazing 2024. It is going to be a great year, and I truly believe that with everything in me. Thank you, as always, for listening to the Auto Repair Marketing Podcast. We look forward to bringing you a lot more great content this year, and we would love it if you would tell us what the questions are that you have, or if there are topics that you want us to cover, even if it doesn't have to do with marketing. Mm-hmm. Tell us what you want us to talk about. Most of these podcasts, they come from questions that come from like our clients or our Facebook group, the Auto Repair Marketing Mastermind, which, by the way, if you're not a member of that, go to Facebook, search Auto Repair Marketing Mastermind and join the group. But we would really love to have your feedback on what you would like to hear from us in this coming year. Give us that feedback and we'll make it happen.
Absolutely.
So we are just one of 5 podcasts on the Aftermarket Radio Network. There's a lot of great information there, y'all. Go to aftermarketradionetwork.com and you can see those other podcasts and you give those a listen. We hope that you'll listen in again next week. I do want to thank our sponsor one more time before we close this show out. So thank you, Repair Pal, for allowing us to bring this content to the industry. And until then, go fill those bays.